Some people dream of getting a visa to escape poverty. Ethan never imagined his would come with a condition: to give life to another. Ethan moved like a ghost through the corridors of the towering skyscraper. It was past midnight, the hour when most of the city slept, except for men like him, who cleaned up the world that others dirtied during the day. His worn-out sneakers squeaked softly against the marble. The smell of cleaning liquid mixed with his sweat. He glanced at the glass walls where the reflections of Manhattan lights blurred into distant stars. To anyone watching, Ethan was invisible, a nobody. But inside, he carried dreams so fragile he didn't dare speak them aloud. He had come to America on a short-term work visa, one that had expired 6 months ago. Every time he saw an immigration officer on the street, his heart raced. One mistake, one random ID check, and everything he'd built could vanish. Ethan didn't have much, just a small apartment shared with 2 other immigrants, an old flip phone, and a prayer he whispered before every shift. Just one more day, Lord. Give me one more day. But beneath that simple prayer was something deeper, the ache of belonging. He wanted to matter. That night, as he scrubbed the marble near the CEO's private elevator, he noticed something unusual. The elevator doors opened, though it was long past office hours. Lena Moretti stepped out in a rush of perfume and cold authority. Her heels clicked like a metronome, sharp, rhythmic, and commanding. She was everything Ethan wasn't: power, privilege, control. Her hair was tied in a perfect bun, her white coat slung over one arm. Her phone buzzed endlessly with board members' names. But her eyes, they were tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from lack of sleep, but the kind that comes from living without peace. She stopped when she noticed Ethan, crouched on the floor, scrubbing a stubborn stain. "Still working?" she asked, her voice smooth but distant. Ethan froze for a moment, unsure if he should reply. "Yes, ma'am," he said quietly. "Almost done with the top floor." She nodded absently. Her gaze lingered on him, maybe just curiosity, maybe something else. For a brief second, their eyes met, and in that unguarded moment, she saw something that startled her. Not fear. Not desperation. But dignity. Lena walked on, but she felt the echo of that look long after she stepped into her office. Upstairs, Lena stood before the glass wall of her penthouse office, looking down at the glowing city. Below, Ethan was finishing his shift, pushing the cleaning cart toward the maintenance room. 2 souls in the same building, yet worlds apart. Lena sipped her wine, her reflection staring back at her, a woman who had everything money could buy but nothing that could fill the emptiness. Inside her, the photo frame on her desk showed her with a man, smiling once years ago. He was gone now, taken by a sudden accident that shattered her will to love. Her doctors had told her she had little time left for certain choices. Her condition meant bearing a child naturally was unlikely after this year. And for the first time in a long while, the thought of legacy frightened her more than loneliness. Meanwhile, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from his mother back home. "Don't worry about us, son. God sees you. Just stay safe." He smiled faintly. She didn't know he'd been working illegally for months, barely sleeping, sending every dollar home. In another world, he might have been an engineer, a teacher, a father. But here, he was just a name on a cleaning schedule. Just as Ethan was about to clock out, he heard a voice behind him. "Excuse me." He turned. It was her, the CEO. Lena Moretti. For a second, his heart nearly stopped. She never spoke to janitors, not even managers. "Yes, ma'am," he asked, standing awkwardly, cap in hand. She studied him quietly, as if weighing something far heavier than words. "You work late," she finally said. He nodded. "It's quiet at night. Easier to think." "Think?" she asked, intrigued. He smiled faintly. "Yes, ma'am. When the world's asleep, even a janitor can dream." Her lips parted slightly, not a smile, but something softer. "That's poetic," she murmured. Then, almost as if to hide the emotion, she turned away. "Good night." "Good night, ma'am," he said, watching her leave. As she stepped into the elevator, she glanced back once. He didn't notice, but her gaze lingered longer than it should have. Later that night, Lena sat alone in her car in the company's underground garage. Her driver waited, but she didn't move. She just stared at her own reflection in the dark window. That man, Ethan, his eyes haunted her. There was honesty there. Purity. Something money couldn't touch. She whispered under her breath, "What am I doing with my life?" The silence answered back. At the same time, Ethan walked out into the cold night, pulling his jacket tighter. He didn't know that the woman he had just spoken to, the billionaire whose name opened doors across the country, would soon change his life in ways he could never imagine. If life suddenly gave you a chance that could change everything, but it came from someone completely out of your world, would you take it or walk away? Tell me what you'd do in the comments below. The line between desperation and destiny is thinner than we think. Sometimes, a single offer can turn a man's life into a miracle, or a trap. 2 days later, Ethan was mopping the marble hall outside the executive offices when the head of HR, Mrs. Collins, approached him with a puzzled look. "Ethan," she said, "Ms. Moretti would like to see you. In her office. Now." He blinked. "Me? Are you sure?" She nodded. "Don't keep her waiting." Ethan's stomach twisted. CEOs didn't call janitors, especially not privately. He checked his reflection in a glass door, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and walked toward the elevator. Inside, his heart pounded. Was this about my expired visa? Did someone find out? Am I getting fired? When the elevator doors opened, the silence hit him like a wave. The office floor was nearly empty. He stepped inside Lena's office, large, modern, minimalist. The city skyline shimmered through the glass wall behind her. She didn't look up immediately. Her fingers were tapping on a document. "Please sit," she said calmly. Ethan obeyed, perching on the edge of the chair like a man sitting before a judge. Then she looked up. "You've been working here for, 2 years?" "Yes, ma'am. Almost 3. She nodded slowly. "I've noticed. You're quiet. You do your job well. No complaints." "Thank you, ma'am." Then came the silence. The kind that fills the air before something life-changing is said. Finally, she spoke. "Ethan, I need your help. Personally." He frowned slightly. "My help?" She leaned back in her chair. "Yes. But this won't be part of your janitorial duties. It's something different." Lena stood up and walked toward the window, her reflection framed by the city lights. "I'm offering you a deal," she said. "It will change your life, and mine." Ethan's throat went dry. What kind of deal? She turned, her voice steady, but her eyes trembled with something unspoken. "I want you to become the father of my child." Silence. Time itself seemed to freeze. He stared at her, thinking he misheard. I don't understand." "You heard me right," she said. "I'm not asking for love or marriage. I need someone trustworthy, discreet, healthy, and clean. You fit that description." Ethan blinked, heart pounding. "You could have anyone, ma'am. Why me?" Her gaze softened. "Because you're the only one in this building who still looks at people with kindness. You don't want anything from me. You don't even know who I really am." Ethan sat back, overwhelmed. "Ma'am, this is too much. I can't." "I'll give you a full resident visa," she interrupted. "Legal papers. Medical insurance. A new apartment. Enough money to send your family home for life." The words hit him like thunder. A visa. The very thing he'd prayed for every night. "But why?" he asked, voice shaking. Lena took a slow breath. "Because I'm running out of time. My doctor said my chances of conceiving are nearly gone. And I don't want a stranger from a clinic. I want someone real." Her eyes met his, a strange mix of vulnerability and command. "Someone like you." Ethan's mind spun. He could barely afford rent, his immigration status was illegal, and his mother's hospital bills were rising back home. This offer could solve everything. But it also felt wrong. "Ms. Moretti," he began carefully, "I'm just a janitor. I don't know anything about this." Lena smiled faintly. "You don't need to. I'll handle the legal process, the medical arrangements, everything. All I need is your consent." He stood up slowly. "I can't give you an answer now." "Good," she said softly. "Think about it. I'll give you 2 days." As he turned to leave, she added one last thing. "If you agree, You won't just change your life, you'll change mine. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He walked through the empty streets, hands buried in his jacket pockets, thoughts echoing louder than the wind. He imagined holding his new visa, sending money home, finally breathing without fear. But then he imagined a child, his child, being raised by a woman who didn't want him, only his DNA. Is that what I am to her? He whispered. A transaction? But another voice answered in his head. A visa, Ethan. A new life. Isn't this what you've been praying for? He closed his eyes. Tears rolled down his face. He hated himself for even considering it, but poverty had a way of turning morality into luxury. 2 days later, Ethan stood outside Lena's office again. He hesitated before knocking. When he entered, Lena looked up immediately. You've made up your mind? He nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. And? She asked. He took a deep breath. I'll do it. For the first time, her expression cracked, not with triumph, but relief. Thank you, Ethan. She walked closer, her tone quieter now. You won't regret this. Everything will be taken care of. Starting today. He nodded silently, still unsure whether he just saved his life, or signed it away. As Ethan left the office, Lena watched him from the window. Her hand trembled as she touched the glass. She whispered to herself, maybe this time, I'll finally feel alive again. But behind her calm eyes was something darker, a secret she hadn't told him yet. If this story resonates with you, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. You don't want to miss more stories like this one. Now, let's begin. Every decision has a cost. For some, it's money. For others, it's a piece of their soul. Ethan had just sold his, not for greed, but for survival. Inside a small conference room, a lawyer slides a stack of papers toward Ethan. Lena sits across the table, her posture elegant, face unreadable. Lawyer, you both understand this is a legal surrogacy and partnership arrangement. All terms have been mutually agreed upon. Ethan scans the documents: resident visa approval, confidentiality clause, financial agreement. He hesitates. Lena's eyes meet his. For the first time, there's a flicker of guilt in her gaze. Lena, softly. You don't have to do this if you're unsure. Ethan shakes his head. I made my choice, ma'am. He signs the papers. The pen trembles slightly in his hand. The lawyer stands. Congratulations, Mr. Cole. Welcome to your new life. Ethan exhales, a mix of relief and quiet dread. Camera pans out to show the two of them on opposite sides of the table, bound by ink and silence. Later that evening, Lena's chauffeur drives Ethan to a new apartment, spacious, minimalist, overlooking the city skyline. It's the nicest place he's ever seen. He drops his small suitcase on the floor, looking around in disbelief. A new ID card, bank card, and official resident documents sit neatly on the kitchen counter. He picks them up, staring at his own name printed in gold. Ethan Cole, permanent resident of the United States. He sinks into the sofa, tears filling his eyes. After all these years, I finally exist. She whispers. This time, no doctors. No heartbreak. She closes her eyes, but her hand trembles. The next day, at the fertility clinic, Ethan meets Lena again. Everything feels cold, professional, emotionless. Nurses move around efficiently. The doctor explains the process, avoiding personal tones. Ethan listens, trying not to think about how mechanical this all feels. When Lena glances at him from across the room, he forces a faint smile, but she quickly looks away. After the procedure, Lena leaves first. Ethan stays seated, lost in thought. He looks at the empty chair she left behind and murmurs, "It doesn't feel right, not like this." Days pass. Ethan returns to work, though now his badge reads Authorized Staff. People treat him differently, some with envy, others with suspicion. He starts receiving monthly stipends from Lena's office, neatly deposited, every Friday at noon. It's supposed to make him feel secure. Instead, it makes him feel like property. He whispers, "I wanted freedom, but this feels like a cage with golden bars." Meanwhile, Lena is struggling too. Her body begins to show the early signs of pregnancy. But her heart feels emptier than ever. She finds herself watching Ethan's security footage on her phone, him helping coworkers, fixing a flickering light, smiling shyly at the receptionist. She closes the phone quickly, ashamed of herself. "Get a grip, Lena," she mutters. "This isn't love. It's a deal." One evening, Lena visits Ethan's apartment unannounced. He's surprised, still in his janitor uniform. "Ethan, ma'am? Is everything all right?" Lena, hesitant, "I was in the area. I thought I'd check on how you're settling in." He offers her tea. She hesitates, then accepts. For the first time, she sits in his small living room, not as his boss, but as a woman. They talk about ordinary things, the city, his family, her garden, the sound of rain. And for a moment, they both forget the contract between them. She studies him quietly, the humility in his tone, the gentleness in his eyes. For the first time, she smiles, a genuine, unguarded smile. "Lena, you're different from anyone I've ever met." "Ethan, maybe because I've lost everything before. It teaches you to care more about what you still have." A pause. Then softly, she says, "Maybe that's what I've been missing all along." Sometimes, love doesn't enter with fireworks. It slips through the cracks of your loneliness. In small glances, shared silences, and unspoken care. Lena sits in her office, staring at a framed document, Ethan's visa approval. She runs her fingers over his name and sighs, as if touching the proof of her own guilt. Her assistant knocks. "Ma'am, the janitorial staff is finishing the lower floors." Lena nods, but something stirs inside her. Without thinking, she walks to the elevator and presses B2. Down in the dimly lit maintenance floor, she finds Ethan repairing a leaking pipe. His sleeves rolled, shirt damp, expression focused. He looks up, startled. "Ethan, Ms. Ross? You shouldn't be here, the floor's still wet." Lena, smiling faintly, "Then maybe I needed a little grounding." He chuckles nervously, unsure how to respond. She kneels beside him, handing him a wrench. Their fingers brush, it's barely a second, but it lingers. "Ethan, you don't have to." "Lena, maybe I want to." A few days later, Lena insists Ethan accompany her to a charity event as her personal assistant. It's a quiet rebellion. She's tired of boardroom stares and shallow compliments. Ethan looks uneasy in a borrowed suit, but his humble presence draws genuine smiles from people. He speaks softly to an elderly donor about his background. The woman says, "You remind me of my late husband, kind eyes." Lena watches from across the room, something warm spreading in her chest. Later, outside by the car, she teases him. "Lena, you survived high society, Mr. Cole." Ethan, "Barely. I think I held my breath the whole time." They both laugh, an honest, unfiltered laugh. Back at her mansion, Lena begins inviting Ethan over for dinner, at first as required discussions. But soon, the reasons disappear. They eat in quiet companionship. She learns he loves jazz. He learns she can't sleep without the sound of rain. One night, during a storm, the power flickers out. They light candles, and the air feels different, fragile, charged. Lena stares into the flame. "I forgot what it's like to feel safe around someone." Ethan's gaze softens. Maybe safety isn't found in walls or wealth. Maybe it's just in being seen. Her eyes glisten. She whispers, "Then why do I feel seen only when you're here?" The next morning, gossip begins to spread. A photo of Lena and Ethan from the charity event leaks online. Headlines read, "Billionaire heiress and her janitor, a scandalous arrangement." Board members whisper. Her reputation wavers. She storms into Ethan's apartment, trembling with anger and fear. "Lena, do you realize what this could cost me?" Ethan, "Hurt, do you think I leaked it? I've done nothing but protect your name." Silence. Guilt floods her expression. "Lena, I know. I'm sorry." Her voice breaks for the first time. She sinks onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. Ethan kneels beside her. "You don't have to fight this alone, Lena." She looks up, eyes red. "Then don't leave me." He stays. Quietly. Weeks pass. Lena's pregnancy progresses, and Ethan becomes part of her routine, attending checkups, fixing things around her home, cooking simple meals she pretends not to love. In one tender scene, Ethan helps her tie her shoes because she can't bend easily anymore. She laughs through tears. Lena, for a janitor, you're awfully gentle. Ethan, for a billionaire, you're awfully human. They share a soft, lingering look, more intimate than words. Love didn't ask their permission. It simply crept in, through laughter, storms, and whispered apologies. What began as an arrangement was now turning into something neither could define, nor deny. Lena wakes to her phone vibrating on the nightstand. The caller ID, Dr. Finch, fertility specialist. Her hand freezes. She answers. Dr. Finch, voice over phone. Lena, we need to talk about the sample source used during your last treatment. She goes pale. What about it? Dr. Finch. It seems there's been a file error. The donor identification we used wasn't the one you approved. The room spins around her. Her voice trembles. You're saying Ethan wasn't supposed to be the biological match? Silence on the line. Dr. Finch. I'm saying he wasn't meant to be, but fate, or paperwork, had other plans. Lena drops the phone, breath shaking. She realizes the child she's carrying, the one she'd chosen to engineer, came from something unplanned. For the first time, the perfectionist billionaire faces chaos she can't control. What began as an arrangement was now turning into something neither could define, nor deny. Lena wakes to her phone vibrating on the nightstand. The caller ID, Dr. Finch, fertility specialist. Her hand freezes. She answers. Dr. Finch, voice over phone. Lena, we need to talk about the sample source used during your last treatment. She goes pale. What about it? Dr. Finch. It seems there's been a file error. The donor identification we used wasn't the one you approved. The room spins around her. Her voice trembles. You're saying Ethan wasn't supposed to be the biological match? Silence on the line. Dr. Finch. I'm saying he wasn't meant to be, but fate, or paperwork, had other plans. Lena drops the phone, breath shaking. She realizes the child she's carrying, the one she'd chosen to engineer, came from something unplanned. For the first time, the perfectionist billionaire faces chaos she can't control. Later that day, Ethan walks into Lena's office to deliver her prenatal supplements. He notices her pale face and trembling hands. Ethan, ma'am, you look like you've seen a ghost. She forces a smile. Just work stress. But as he turns to leave, a folder slips from her desk, marked confidential, surrogacy file. It falls open to reveal his photo, next to medical charts and DNA coding. He freezes. His throat goes dry. Ethan, quietly, you chose me for this? She swallows hard. Lena, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. There was a mix-up. His eyes darken, not with anger, but with something deeper, betrayal. Ethan, so I wasn't a miracle, just an accident of paperwork? Lena, pleading no. You don't understand. Ethan, then explain it to me, Lena. Tell me why a man like me was ever part of your perfect plan. Silence. The truth weighs heavier than either of them can bear. 5 years earlier. Lena lies in a hospital bed, pale, fragile, heart monitor beeping slowly. Beside her, a doctor says softly, "We tried everything. The child didn't make it." Her husband, Charles, stands coldly at the doorway. "Instead of comfort," he mutters, "you were supposed to give us an heir." He walks away. That night, Lena signed the divorce papers. She lost not just her child, but her sense of worth. Lena's voice breaks. Lena, I didn't want to feel powerless again. I wanted to choose, to control something. I thought if I could decide the terms, I wouldn't get hurt again. Ethan's expression softens, but he's still wounded. Ethan, but love isn't supposed to be controlled. A week passes. They barely speak. But fate pulls them back together when Lena collapses during a board meeting, stress and exhaustion. Ethan rushes to the hospital. He finds her sleeping, for lines attached, her face pale but peaceful. He sits by her bed, speaking softly. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to fight alone anymore. Her eyes flutter open. She whispers, "Why are you still here after everything?" He smiles weakly. "Because I wasn't hired to care about you, Lena. I just do." A single tear slips down her cheek. For the first time, she doesn't hide it. When Lena is discharged, Ethan drives her home. The air between them feels fragile, new. They sit in silence before her mansion, the city lights glimmering through the windshield. "Lena, Ethan, what if the baby grows up to hate me, for how this all began?" "Ethan, then they'll know what I learned, that people can start in the wrong story, and still find the right ending." She looks at him, long, searching, raw. "Do you really believe that?" "I believe in what we're becoming." She rests her head on his shoulder, tears falling quietly. Lena and Ethan move through quiet mornings together. He prepares breakfast, clumsy but charming, as she reads financial reports at the counter. Ethan, grinning, billionaires aren't supposed to eat burnt toast. Lena, teasing, and janitors aren't supposed to talk back. They share a rare laugh, real, easy. One rainy evening, Ethan finds Lena in her art room, a place she hasn't entered since her failed marriage. She's painting again, her hands trembling slightly. He stands at the doorway, mesmerized. "Ethan, that's beautiful." "Lena, softly, it's unfinished. Like me." He steps closer, his voice gentle. "Then maybe we can finish things together." That night, a storm hits. Power flickers out across the estate. Ethan rushes to check the generator, but Lena follows him outside, rain pouring, wind howling. Lightning cracks as she slips on the steps. He catches her, their bodies close, soaked and shivering. For a moment, neither moves. Her breath catches. His hands tighten around her waist. Lena, whispering, "You don't have to keep saving me, Ethan." "Ethan, maybe I need to." It's not a perfect kiss. It's raw, hesitant, real. The next morning, sunlight filters through soft curtains. Lena wakes alone. Ethan is already outside, trimming the garden. She watches him through the window, the poor janitor who once mopped her floors now shaping her world in quiet ways. Her heart aches in a way money could never ease. Lena, thinking, narrating softly. "He gave me more peace than every million I've ever made." Just as life begins to feel right, Charles, Lena's ex-husband, reappears. He shows up at her office unannounced, tailored suit, smug smile. "Charles, I heard about your little arrangement." "A janitor, Lena? How poetic." Her jaw tightens. "Get out." He smirks and tosses a file onto her desk. "You might want to look at that before you talk about morals. The visa paperwork, it's linked to a company under investigation. If the board finds out, you'll lose everything." Her heart stops. That night, Lena is quiet during dinner. Ethan notices instantly. "Ethan, something happened, didn't it?" Lena, "No. Just tired." But her eyes betray her. She's protecting him, by pushing him away. The warmth they built begins to fade. She avoids his touch, his gaze, his laughter. And he, confused and hurt, begins to wonder if it was all temporary, if love was just another deal expiring. Days later, Ethan packs his things quietly. He writes a note and leaves it on the kitchen table. "You taught me what love feels like. And what it costs. If protecting me means losing you, then I'll walk away, but I'll never forget you." He leaves his janitor uniform folded neatly on the counter. Lena finds the note hours later. Tears fall before she even finishes reading it. "Don't go, please." But he's already gone. If this story resonates with you, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. You don't want to miss more stories like this one. Now, let's begin. When love becomes too real, fear tries to break it. But sometimes, walking away is the only way to find your way back. Ethan's absence would teach Lena what money never could. That not everything precious can be bought or bargained for. Some people leave not because they stopped caring, but because staying would destroy them. Ethan left behind silence, and in that silence, Lena finally heard her own heart. Lena walks through the house at dawn. Ethan's toolbox is gone. His jacket no longer hangs on the chair. The air feels hollow. She sits on the staircase where he used to wait for her every morning, and clutches the note he left. Lena, voice breaking. You fool. I wasn't trying to save you. I was trying to save us. Meanwhile, Ethan rents a tiny room in a working-class neighborhood. He's back to mopping floors at a local diner. But this time, he carries himself differently, not as a man defeated, but as someone who's known real love. A coworker asks, "You ever miss her?" He smiles faintly. Every minute. But some things are too good to hold on to. Back at the corporation, Charles leaks the story. CEO Lena Rivers under investigation for visa manipulation, linked to her former janitor. Headlines explode. Social media goes wild. Shareholders panic. Lena's company begins to collapse. Her assistant bursts into her office. "They're calling for your resignation, ma'am." She closes her eyes, exhausted. Let them. Maybe I deserve it. A journalist corners Ethan at the diner, shoving a microphone in his face. Reporter, "Is it true, Mr. Cole? Did the billionaire CEO offer you a visa in exchange for fathering her child?" The room goes silent. Ethan freezes, then walks away without answering. But the camera catches his eyes, full of pain and restraint. Later that night, he calls Lena for the first time in weeks. She answers on the first ring. "Lena, Ethan." "Ethan, they came to me. About us. I didn't say anything." Lena, whispering, "I'm so sorry." "Ethan, don't be. Just, don't fight alone anymore." To protect Ethan from prosecution, Lena goes on live television. Her voice is steady, but her hands tremble. "Lena, press conference. The responsibility is mine. I offered a contract, I crossed a line, and I manipulated a system I should have respected. Ethan Cole is innocent. Everything he did was out of compassion." Her confession shocks the nation. The board strips her of her title, she loses everything. But the moment she steps off the stage, she feels free for the first time. Now he can finally live. In his tiny room, Ethan watches her confession on a small TV. His throat tightens. "She did it for me." He turns off the screen and runs into the night rain, his footsteps echoing through empty streets. He finds her standing on a pier overlooking the dark water. Her hair whips in the wind. Ethan, panting, "You didn't have to do that." Lena, smiling through tears, "I did. Because I finally learned what you've known all along. Love doesn't need contracts." He steps closer. "So what now?" She looks at him, eyes glistening. "Now, we start over. No deals. No lies." They embrace, slow, trembling, and real. The wind dies down. The music swells. She lost her empire. He lost his safety. But together, they found the only thing worth keeping, each other. Sometimes, love begins with a mistake and ends as the truth. The next morning, Lena wakes up in her modest coastal apartment, stripped of luxury, but filled with peace. She looks out at the ocean, barefoot, holding a cup of coffee. "Lena," softly, "I used to wake up to stock prices. Now I just wake up, grateful." The doorbell rings. It's Ethan, holding a brown paper bag with 2 muffins. "Ethan. Thought we could start the day like normal people." Lena, smiling. "Normal is nice." They sit together at the small table, sunlight pouring in. No suits. No bodyguards. Just them. Days turn into weeks. Ethan gets a new janitorial job at a small local hospital. Lena starts volunteering at a community center, helping immigrant women start small businesses. They're both rebuilding, quietly. Volunteer. To Lena, "Why are you helping us?" Lena. "Because once, someone taught me that worth doesn't come from a bank account." One afternoon, Ethan receives a letter from the immigration office. His residency is now permanent, thanks to Lena's previous sponsorship. He stares at it for a long time. Then he looks at Lena across the table. "Ethan. You gave me more than a visa. You gave me a reason to stay." Lena. "You gave me something money never could, peace." A few weeks later, Lena faints during a volunteer shift. Ethan rushes her to the hospital. The doctor runs some tests, and smiles. Doctor. Miss Rivers, congratulations. You're 8 weeks pregnant. The room falls silent. Lena turns to Ethan, eyes wide, tears forming. Lena, shaking but, I thought I couldn't. Doctor, smiling, miracles have a way of showing up when you least expect them. Ethan grabs her hand. He doesn't say anything, just holds her, both of them crying softly. That night, they sit on the couch, her head on his shoulder. The lights are low. Ethan. When I first met you, I thought I was just cleaning floors. But maybe I was cleaning the mess inside both of us. Lena, smiling faintly. You really think we can make it work? Ethan. We already are. We stopped running. Weeks later, Ethan paints a small room yellow. Lena laughs as he struggles to assemble a crib. Lena, you're worse at this than at mopping floors. Ethan, hey, I didn't sign up for IKEA puzzles. On the wall, she hangs a framed photo, not of the mansion, but of the pier where they reunited. A TV host airs a follow-up story. Former billionaire Lena Rivers now leads a non-profit supporting low-income families. Her story of redemption continues to inspire thousands. The clip cuts to her smiling beside Ethan, carrying a box of supplies. Lena, in interview. People think power means control. But real power is the courage to love when the world expects you to close your heart. Ethan narrates as he walks through a park at sunset, camera panning over families laughing. I used to think happiness belonged to other people. But maybe love doesn't choose the richest, it chooses the real. Do you believe love can grow from the most unexpected places? Tell me what you think in the comments, because sometimes the smallest act changes everything. That night, Lena feels the baby kick for the first time. Ethan kneels, resting his hand on her stomach. Ethan, softly, hey little one. You're the proof that love can't be bought, only found. She runs her fingers through his hair. They stay like that, quiet, whole, and healed. They once traded promises for papers. Now they traded fear for forever. Love doesn't always arrive the way we planned. But when it does, it rewrites everything. Once, their story began with a contract. Now it ends with a promise, one written not on paper, but in the heart. The camera follows Ethan quietly making breakfast, pancakes slightly burnt, coffee too strong. He's humming, wearing a worn t-shirt that says, "Miracles happen." In the next room, Lena, 9 months pregnant, struggles to tie her shoes. He rushes over, kneels, and helps her. Ethan, grinning, remember when you had assistants for this? Lena, laughing, and still no one did it this well. Ethan opens a drawer and finds a letter, written months ago but never mailed. It reads, "If you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to tell you in person. You saved me, Lena. You gave me a name, a home, and a reason to keep breathing." He folds it gently and slips it into his pocket. Foreshadowing, he'll read it later in the hospital. A sudden contraction hits. Lena gasps, clutching her stomach. Ethan, panicking, okay, bag, keys, phone, where's your phone? Lena, breathing hard, you're holding it, Ethan. They both laugh between her pain. Cut to flashing scenes, the car speeding, hospital doors sliding open, the chaos of nurses rushing. Ethan paces outside the maternity ward, hands shaking. He holds that old letter again, the one he never sent. Ethan, voiceover. She gave me everything when I had nothing. If I could give her one thing in return, it'd be the peace she always gave me. A nurse walks out, smiling. Nurse, Mr. Cole, congratulations. You have a baby girl. He exhales, laughter and tears mixing. He rushes in. Lena lies on the hospital bed, exhausted but glowing. In her arms, their baby. Tiny. Beautiful. Ethan freezes in the doorway, unable to move. Then she looks up. Lena, whispering, meet your dad. He steps forward, trembling. Ethan, softly, hey there, miracle. He holds the baby. The camera zooms in, his calloused hands cradle new life. Later, they sit quietly as the nurse asks for the baby's name. Lena looks at Ethan. Lena, you choose. He smiles, tears glistening. Ethan, Grace. Because that's what she brought us. A soft montage plays, clips from the whole story. Ethan sweeping floors the first day they met. Lena watching him from her office window. The night she made the offer. The fights, the visa, the laughter, the pier, the press conference. And now, the baby's small hand gripping Ethan's finger. Over it, Ethan narrates. I used to think life was about survival. Now I know, it's about surrender. To love. To grace. To the people who see you even when you're invisible. Their home is filled with laughter. Lena works remotely, running her foundation. Ethan cooks, changes diapers, chases little Grace around. The walls are decorated with photos, not of luxury, but of family moments, messy, real, happy. One photo catches the camera's focus, the three of them under the pier where they reunited. Below it, a quote is framed, "Love isn't a transaction. It's transformation." Lena, do you ever miss the mansion? Ethan, kissing her forehead, I already live in one, right here. Ethan and Lena walk on the beach at sunset, baby Grace asleep in his arms. Waves crash softly. Ethan, voiceover. She once gave me a visa to stay in her country. But what she really gave me was a reason to stay in her heart. Lena looks up and whispers, "So what now?" He smiles, eyes on the horizon. Now, we keep building forever. Thanks for watching. If this story kept you thinking, share your thoughts in the comments. I love reading what you believe really happened. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more stories every week.